Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to assemble smaller parts, like for example this one, before we get to the final assembly. So let's start with this one. As you can see, it's the magwell, and I'm not really going to show you assembling process because, as you can see here, it's a part that you assemble once. So what do you need? M3 screw. It's this one. It's 18.5 millimeters long, and three wood screws. And as you can see, there is this button down there. It prevents babies from falling from this tunnel when the magazine is not in its place. It's very easy. I'll show you a picture of this part, and I hope you can see it. There is this piece. I hope you see it. This is the piece that prevents babies from falling out, and it might be necessary to file this piece down a little bit. It doesn't have to, but it might be necessary, so keep that in mind. As you can see, this is spring loaded, and what sits there is the short spring you should have prepared. It's very simple. You definitely can do it without my help. And this is the magazine release lever. You have to take one M3 screw and cut it, so you get a piece like this. It can be threaded, but it doesn't have to. It should be about 18 millimeters long. And how do you install it? You take the long spring, you place it like here, and you see, there is cut out where this spring goes. You just insert it there. Now you push it back a little bit. Now we insert the cut screw. And there you have it. It worked. Let's get to next part. The second one will be this bad boy. You don't really have to do much here. Let's say first thing you need to do is to file it down. It's not even a little bit. It might take hours to file it down properly. And how much material you have to remove. There is this piece, and it sits right here. And when you see it's not sticking out, it means it's good here. But there is the rear section. And what you do is, when you have whole gun assembled, I mean replica, you have to install it and see if it sits as intended. So, you know, it's not bended in any direction. Okay. So, what do we do here? We install this little piece. As you can see, here are two holes. These are threaded. So, these screws are M4 grab screws. You place it here. And now you screw in the screws. And they don't really have to be tight, because the only thing they do is preventing this part from falling out. Okay, and now it's optional, but if you want the palm rest, here's this little thing. You have to insert M4 nut in this hole, and you drop it into this hole, like this. Now, you take the palm rest, and you have to just insert it, and then you have to screw in the screw. See? Simple. Oh, I forgot. This is the long M4 screw. It's 50 millimeters long. And you need to put a washer here. Okay. Let's get to the next part. And this will be the trigger cover. So here you will need two M4 screws, and this one is 10.4 millimeters long, and this one is about 22 millimeters long. So you will need these two parts, and the short spring you should have prepared. Oh, right. And the slider, this part. First thing you want to do is to take the trigger and see if it moves freely. If so, you can, just put it to the side. But if not, it doesn't mean the print is bad, because it should be too tight when you take it off the print bed, and you have to file it down here. I mean, mainly here. It might be also necessary here or on the side. It depends on your settings, but you have to make sure this trigger doesn't bend when you pull it in different places. And it's very important because if it bends, you know, angle between trigger and this piece, it's about 90 degrees. If it changes, there is a chance you will bend the trigger and lock it in the rear position. Now it's impossible because it sits here very tightly, but it's loose enough to move freely. But in earlier models it was a problem. So how do I assemble it? You take these two parts and you need to place them here with this little circle pointing to the middle. So how it works: here you have the slider, here you have this little part, and as you can see here, it just pushes this part to the middle and this locks the trigger. So to make it easier, you might firstly insert the slider, and now you see this little part should sit here like this. Oh, you see. So now we take out the slider, we place this spring, we place this spring between these little parts and we insert it here. Okay, now we take the slider and that's it. Works. And now to check if it really works, when it's set to unlocked, insert the trigger, you set it to safe, and the trigger shouldn't move. Okay, let's get to the next part. The next part will be the gas block, and it's probably the simplest part here, because you see here's a hole, and in this hole you have to insert this little pin. Like this. And if it sits tightly like here, you don't really have to do this, but if it's loose and it might fall out unexpectedly, here's another hole. Here you can place M4 grab screw, but here in my case it's not really necessary. Okay, now the charging handle. You take the slider and notice here is electric tape, and I did it because it wasn't as tight as I wanted, so it was pretty clunky. So we take the slider. Now we take the spring, we insert it like this. Now you take this part, right, you place it like this. Now you take one wood screw and you have to screw it in, and you wanna tighten it because you won't be disassembling it. As you can see, if you really want, you can still rotate it, but well, as I said before, this is pretty much only for display, so it doesn't really matter. And now you don't want to keep it with this hole, so here you've got this little thing, and here I applied some Teflon tape to make it sit tightly here, so it doesn't come off. Now we will assemble this thing. It's in the front. It's for mounting the carrying system. I don't know even how to call it. It's also pretty simple. You take this thing, this little screw, and you have to screw it in like this. That's all for this part. And we have to assemble the rear right plate. What do you do first? You take this little piece, and here you have two M5 screws. Here you have two holes. You have to place this thing right here, and now you just have to screw in these screws. It might be a little bit tricky, but you know, you do it only once, so it doesn't really matter. They don't really have to be tighten very much. It won't come off. And you see here, you need the button, and this is your button, and this is the moment you are using the spring from the pen. So you take this piece right here, you insert the spring here, and you wanna make sure, because as you can see, here is a little cutout for the spring, so it doesn't come off easily. Now you take this piece, you slide it here like this, and now, alright, I didn't show you, this is M3 screw. It's about 10 millimeters long. You insert it to this piece, and you have to screw this screw in this hole. And remember, it shouldn't be too tight, because oh no, I can't even move it. So you have to, oh, and I damaged it. Nice. And now when you are done, you take this little thing, come on, and it should snap here, like this. And I think this is it. So the only thing left to do is the final assembly. So see you soon.